Now, Rebeka, I'm really excited to bring you on today because you're a 1-3 mental projector. And
Mm-hmm.
as I do embody, the projector energy, I do not embody what it means to be a mental projector. And to me, that's one of the most challenging or most interesting authorities to have. And also, it's one of the rarest authorities to have as well. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
really excited to bring you on today and just kind of pick your brain on how it has really manifested in your life and how you've come to ground yourself with that authority.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to share about it because, like you said, there really isn't that much information about it for us. So I'm trying to spread the word and share.
Yeah. So how long have you been, experimenting with your human design?
It's been a little over 3 years now. It was December 2019, so like right before quarantine and everything. So about to hit that 3.5 year mark, turn the corner. And it's changed so much about my life knowing my human design. And it was really weird when I first learned it too. Like, it's like I looked at my chart and something in me just felt like, yes, this is it. But then of course I had no idea what I was looking at. Like, it seems really weird and bizarre, but also like home. So it's been a fun journey.
I relate to that so much because as soon as I found my human design, I didn't know much about it, but I'm like, this makes sense. And I know that there's so
Yeah.
much more here that's going to help me between like just, waiting for the invitation, like light bulbs and just so much clarity and being like, oh, so this is where I've been going wrong in all of my
Yes.
previous attempts. I get it now.
Yes. I know. Same. Because then I started looking back at some relationships and I'm like, oh no, I initiated that one. No wonder it blew up. Or
Exactly.
jobs or like anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I would go into jobs, with my gate 31 here to be an influence. I'm like, how can I get to the top as quick and be this influence? And I would really force, this leadership in a sense of rather than letting it come naturally or waiting to be seen. I was like, see me, hear me, I can do this. So I just caused a lot of chaos that was really unnecessary. So it's been interesting.
Yes, I feel you on that. 31's my unconscious north node. And um yeah, it's been interesting to unpack that one.
Yeah, but I think you also have it in your conscious, like Mars too, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes. So yeah, when I first read about that one, it's been interesting because there's some powerful things like that influence. And then I'm writing across a rulership. And I was like, you've got the wrong person. Like, I'm the shy one that sits in the corner. What is happening? But the more I just show up in who I am and embrace the mental projectorness, and the more I look at the everything as a whole, I'm like, okay, no, I'm just here. I'm here to teach. I'm here to help people. So the influence just helps with that. And my goal is for people to learn to themselves more and to love themselves more. So it's been fun.
Yeah. So when it comes to mental authority, right? Mental authority, for those of you who don't know, it's where an individual doesn't have any definition below the throat center. So for Rebeka, you have a defined ajna, you have a defined throat. And that can just be very energetic challenge because you have this defined mind that really wants to assist in making decisions, but you're also meant to like soundboard and receive things from your environment. So please talk to me about how you have really worked through and gained clarity with your authority.
Yes, I think this is the part that saved my life because I would get stuck in my head and it felt like it would take forever for me to make decisions on things. And for to have languaging for this, game changer. So for me, the huge thing was starting to realize who to talk to and who not to, and to just embrace the fact that I do need to talk out loud about stuff. Because in the past, like one time someone got upset at me when I was trying to talk through stuff and said that I was being really selfish because I was just asking her to take on all my energy. And this was pre-human design, so I didn't have words for it. But I knew that I needed to talk. And so I just kind of shut myself down. And so now I've been able to find people who are cool with it. And I can just call them and say, hey, I just need to talk out loud about some stuff. And they're there with me to do it. And the fascinating thing is that it's almost like when I'm talking with somebody else, like in the room, it's like my words bounce off of their aura and come back to me a different way. And it's like I can hear myself through them and I get this kind of different perspective. And so that's where the environmental authority comes in. You know, it sounds weird, like talk to different people in different environments, but it's really because we absorb our environment so much. So if we can just talk with somebody else, then that's how we can recognize ourselves. And when we can do it in different environments, then we pick up on different nuances of how to recognize ourselves based on that environment. So that's the important thing. And the huge thing too is talking with the correct people. You know, if someone's going to interrupt me, it used to just, I would immediately get into anger mode because it's like they're cutting me off from my intuition, and that's the worst thing they could do. And they think they're helping, but they're not. So if there's anybody that's trying to interrupt or just trying to fix you or tell you what to do, that just doesn't work. And I think the biggest thing for mental projectors is realizing this, and then realizing that we've surrounded ourselves with incorrect people, and how do we move forward and find the correct people in the correct environments. And that's really just experimentation and pull your energy away from the people that you've realized are incorrect for you, and allow yourself to move into the correct environment.
Okay. So it's not really what other people are saying to you. It truly is how you sound, how it sounds when it comes back to you, and you kind of filtering it through and bouncing it off soundboarding of somebody else, but it's all about your words and how it's coming back to you.
Yes, exactly. That's a great way to sum it up. And so I realized that the other person, like, that can feel a little weird to just literally be a soundboard. It's like, I don't need you to say anything. I don't want you to say anything. I just need your energy. And it feels a little weird for me to realize that too. But I've felt it, and that's the truth. And even if it's just like recently, I'm also a substitute teacher, and I started this long-term position. And so I had this other teacher, I would just go in her room and talk about something, and then I would just leave. So it's like, I literally just need to say things out loud, and then it releases the pressure out of my brain and helps me to understand what's actually happening.
And you think that release is coming from that undefined head center of yours, like it gets so loud, or that pressure or that inspiration, and so you talking it out also helps kind of release that mental anxiety that also gets stirred up in there?
Yes, because it feels like the image I get is like all the inspiration comes in there, and then it drops in my gate 47, which is my sun, right? And then it just gets stuck in the defined ajna, especially prior to human designs. It's just rolling around trying to process and get the right aha moment. But luckily I have my 1156, and so I just imagine that when it comes out of the 1156, then it's able to come out as a shiny gold nugget instead of just getting rolled around in my head for so much. So that's how I imagine. And then I've started to notice that it is a little different for mental projectors who have an undefined throat, because they just have so much definition in their mind, and it's not as easy to soundboard. So the being in the correct environment is vital for them, because then they get that connection from their throat to their ajna to be able to soundboard and get things out of their mind.
Yeah. And it sounds like, with when you're doing this and actively doing it, it sounds like you're really tapping into like, that collective programming, so that you can kind of feel what's going on or how it truly resonates with you. And I find that so fascinating. So that's why I wanted to bring you on to kind of hear it from you. Because like you said, there's not a lot of information. It's like soundboard, talk it out, be careful for your mind. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I get the points, but like, I would really love to hear someone's experience with this and how it's coming clear for them, because it just sounds, it's an interesting authority, I feel like, to have.
It is, yes. It's so annoying because Raw talks endlessly about how you're not meant to make decisions from your mind. Nobody's meant to make decisions from your mind. Oh, you're a mental projector here. All you have is your mind. Good luck with that. Like, thanks.
Yeah. Do you
Appreciate it.
do you have practices? I mean, because you do have a defined ajna, and you're not here to make mental decisions, but yet you're here to have this outer authority. Do you have practices to kind of quiet your mind so that you can become clear? Or I guess would your practice just be, I just need to talk it out loud?
Yes. So my morning routine is a non-negotiable, and that includes some breath work and meditation and journaling. And I literally just journal whatever. Sometimes it's just nonsense, and sometimes it's something insightful, but I'll just journal at least a page. It gets its stuff out there. And then I work out as well. And that has changed. I actually used to be a CrossFit coach, and I would work out. I would do CrossFit 5 days a week because it got me out of my head and into my body. But then my body got very tired. So I'm figuring out a different thing. But working out is very essential because it helps tune me into my body, it helped me listen to my body. And then the journaling just helps the energy release out of my head as well. So those things are huge for me, and I can tell the difference when I don't do them. I actually had a stint last year that I don't know, I had this like major depressive time for like months, and then I realized I hadn't been journaling. So as soon as I started journaling again, things started turning around. So now it's just like, okay, this part of my life.
Yeah. Now it's really interesting. You said that you have practiced or been in Reiki and EFT, and then you found human design, and it kind of brought this whole new healing technique. So could you share what drew you or what brought healing with human design that maybe you didn't find with Reiki and EFT?
Yeah, I think it was literally being able to see the map of my energy. I'm outer vision tone on both of my subconscious side, and so I've realized that seeing things really helps solidify things for me. So I think that was huge. The energy part saved me a lot. Like Reiki saved me so much. EFT has helped me a ton. And so that energy work and that calming of the nervous system, that's part of healing and transitioning and all the deconditioning, huge. But seeing my energy pattern and being able to understand what's actually happening switched so much, because I was still, even inside of the energy healing, I was still trying to be a generator, right?
Mm.
Like I mean, at one point I was a CrossFit coach, a junior high coach, a basketball coach, and I'm a single mom of two teenage boys. So I was doing CrossFit at like 4:30, and then I had basketball practice from 6:30 to 8, and then I coached all day at the junior high, and then my kid had basketball practice after that. And like, I don't know how I survived it. But now giving myself permission to step back and say, you know what? You have an open body and a penetrating aura. Like, you need this time alone. This is going to kill you. And giving myself permission to step back and understand why I was stepping back, and to also release any ideas people had. Because I mean, everybody has ideas, like, oh, it was kind of affirming before, like, oh, look, she's a single mom and she's working so hard and she's doing these things, like, how cool. And for me to step back and be like, I'm not doing that anymore, and I got to be okay with people judging me for that, then
Yeah.
that was huge.
I feel so. I relate to your story a lot. I used to be a CrossFit coach for 8 years, and so I was not
Okay,
only
yeah.
training because I competed. I was also a head coach, and like trying, you can't be an athlete and a great coach. Like, I'm sorry, it's really challenging to do both at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
you're either a great coach or you're a great athlete, but I was trying to put all the hats on and to be all the people, and just ran my body to the ground, right? Was completely tired and like
Mm-hmm.
developed a lot of habits that were not good for me in order to stay awake and to stay up during those periods of time.
Yes.
But the biggest thing for me is it's also like what you said about giving yourself permission to step back and like letting people judge you. For me, it's like really been hard for me to not judge myself because
Yes.
I conditioned myself so much on like what health looked like. And like, so you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And like now I definitely don't have the same regimen anywhere close to it. And physique wise, I'm not anywhere the same that I was, but I'm so much more healthy.
Yes.
Right. So it's taken me a while to give myself that permission, because I had in my mind like this is what you need to be this health role model, and I've really tried to like break that identity and really allowed myself to immerse myself in a new identity. So it's been a really, really interesting experience.
I am so glad you brought that up because I've had the same struggle. Like my body, I had finally gotten my body to this place where I was like really proud of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, you can see my muscles and this is great. And then it just stopped. I'm like, I can't. So now it's like I don't recognize my body and it's a really bizarre feeling. And I want my muscles back, but I don't want to go back to CrossFit. So, but I was also I was also talking to my friend Jessie, who's a splenic projector, and she does functional patterns. And so I've been working with her. And she kind of combines human design and the fitness stuff. And so she's like, well, it's no wonder. Like I told her I felt heavy in CrossFit. Like even though I was not big, I had muscle, but I felt heavy and like I felt big. She's like, well, yeah, you're a projector. You're not meant to carry all of that. So let's just switch how you build the muscle. And I was like, oh my gosh.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, like
Right?
I was 9% body fat, but I was heavy. I walked heavy.
Yes.
Like I was just really heavy. And what's really crazy is when you even look at my face, I was bulky. Like I was, yeah. Wow.
Isn't that fascinating? So it's like now I'm technically bigger than I've ever been. I'm still not giant, but I feel lighter. It's a weird thing. So now I'm just trying to find that balance.
Yeah. And that's crazy that, you were, so I mean, I at least have a defined route. So I get that pulse. So I'm like, let's go and let's do something. But you're a classic projector. You don't have any motors defined. So to hear your story and to hear how you were exerting yourself, it makes perfect sense why exhaustion and burnout were served to you on a gold platter there.
Yes, yes. But it took me getting COVID to when I had to stop for 2 weeks, and it was 2 years ago when you still had to quarantine for like 2 weeks. And after that, my body was like, okay, can we just keep doing this, please? Like, let's not go back. I did go back and I did a half Murph like right after, but then I haven't been back since.
Half Murph, that's still a lot. That's still.
I know. Well, and I was in such good shape that it was like no big deal. It was like nothing to do a half Murph. And my parents, it was their first time doing Murph, so I ran like the last half mile with them and I was like, I was a struggle because I'm like, I've finally gotten this amazing shape where I could just casually do a half Murph after recovering from COVID, and I just want to stop. Like, are you serious? But my body is grateful.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you, especially since we're talking about energy and the way that you exert it, how have you approached business differently since discovering your human design?
This one has been very interesting to unpack because I do not fit any of the typical molds. I had more than one business coach, and they were both mani-gens. And the second one I got on purpose because I thought like I was still deconditioning. And I was like, if I get this mani-gen with a defined heart, then I'll get access to that energy and that'll help me like get the oomph going in my business, right? Ended up being super toxic and just so many wrong things with it. So I learned a lot about what not to do. And that's when I realized, because okay, like one of the things she wanted me to do is show up every single day in my stories and sell my offer. And I just couldn't, even though I like sometimes I felt like I would. And she's like, you're barely talking about it. Like, no, I swear I've been doing stuff. And I realized for me, I chose to be consistent in my inconsistency and to listen to my energy more than this other person. Because if I, a mental projector, am any sort of bitterness showing up and asking you to pay me for stuff, like that's how it's going to come across. Like, will you just pay me for this so I can stop doing this?
Yeah.
Instead of, hey, here's how I guide you and support you and love on you. So I had to really switch the energy of that and be okay with the inconsistencies, because the big thing in business is like, oh, you got to do stuff every day and 3 posts a day and all this stuff. And once I started listening to my energy, I realized, like, sometimes on TikTok I won't post things for a few days, but I'll open the app and I still got followers and I still got likes and people still favorited my videos and people are still asking me questions on comments. It didn't just stop. So it's better for me to do that. So that was a huge thing, just really honoring my energy in that and ignoring the defined heart mani-gen. Like, I can't keep up with that. It's fine. So that's been huge. And then also switching to the invitation thing was weird to move into as well, because you got to have an offer and you got to do all these things. And to move into the invitation piece, I just had to realize, if I own my energy, I'm a 1-3 mental projector. Like, I'm here to know a bunch of stuff and to teach you how to do things better, because I did it wrong the first time. So I just would put stuff out there and say, hey, I'll do readings. And I also have this new offering right now called Aligned AF, and it's a digital book. It's about 50 plus pages it's a customized book. And so whenever I just talk about it, it's like, hey, I have this thing that I do, then people show up. That's the other weird thing, is that if I freak out and I put a lot of energy into doing everything right, it's like a ghost town. But if I just throw something out, I'm like, hey, I do this thing, cool, and then I put my phone down and go hang out and do something else, like, I'll come back and I'll have an order. It's when I chill and I kind of forget about it that things happen. And that's been the annoying part, honestly, because I do want to, like, do the things, like the A+ student in me is like, no, here's a rubric and here's how you do it and here's how you get the A. But for my energy, it's like, no, you gotta just chill. So it's like, yeah, typical 3 line, like going through all the things, figuring out what doesn't work in order to figure out what does work. Hopefully that answered the question.
It did. It really, really did. I mean, like when you said to show up and to talk about your offers, I was like, absolutely not. Like every day you want me to show up and be like, here, order this, here, order that. Like, to me, as a projector, I mean, I don't even think I would really give that advice, because you're here to get recognized. And I feel like saying, here's my offer and here's this, is almost like you're trying to manipulate a recognition,
Mm-hmm.
or you're trying to force an invitation. And you cannot manipulate or force invitations as a projector. If you try to, you're going to feel bitter. The exchange is not going to feel successful. And so that's what I've realized, is like, you just have to show up in these areas where you can be seen and educate, and to share your resources and to deliver the information. And those who resonate with what you are delivering will want more, rather than
Yes.
trying to preach like this is, and that works for some people. There are some people that do it and I'm like, oh, that works for them, and that makes sense. But for a projector, yeah, I don't know. I feel like, especially for that person, if they had a defined heart, I could really see them being able to speak about their desires, right? And showing up and being able to speak about what they want on the material plane. But for me, it's more like, with an undefined heart, it's more about showing people that, like, hey, you're in your not self, and you're showing up in a
Mm-hmm.
way that's not really aligning with you. How can we heal this stuff around your self-worth? How can we bring you back to your sense? So I feel like it's two different methods depending on whether you have a defined center or whether you don't have a defined center.
Yeah, for sure. And thinking back, like, if we looked at this coach's stuff, like, it makes sense, because again, classic manager. And so she shows up excited about stuff. Sure, like, that's gonna work for her. But it's like, that's not what I'm here to do. That's not what I'm here to shine. So just just like you said. So that's what's really interesting to me too. And I'll see people, like you said, that get real successful in that. So I'll just watch people and how they sell stuff and how they show up on stuff, and then get to know their design, because this coach did say she was a human design expert as well, and so I thought I'd be safe as a mental projector. No. So it's that's just the beautiful thing, is that there's no one right way to do it. We're studying the science of differentiation. We're here to point out how different and unique and beautiful everybody is. So to show up and say this is the way to sell offers is unethical and dumb. That's the way you showed up and sold your offers, and it worked great for you, and I'm happy for you, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. And let's switch the languaging here. And so that is something that I feel like I'll be doing in the future, is helping people with business stuff. I think I'm just still three-lining things. I had a little mini offering with some people where we did a boss babes thing, and it was really cool. But that's just something I get really passionate about, because I think that we're in this environment where more and more people can be entrepreneurs and have businesses for themselves, and there's so much information out there. Like, let's get it unique for you. Let's figure out what's going on for you and how to make you successful regardless of what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like like where I'm at, I'm studying, right? I do self-study, so it feels like it takes longer to really learn things and to really embody them, which is cool, which is fine. Everything's fine. We're going slow at our own little pace. But I actually just started diving into money and the business. There's a course that I have, and I haven't gotten too far in it, so I do not feel confident really diving into it. But what I guess I'm really starting to understand is that you can make money from your undefined centers, right? And then when you look at your gates that are defined in your undefined centers, you want to go to the third line. And you want to look at that keynote. And it's like, that is what you're selling. So like, I think for you, well, I guess I'll just speak for me. Like for me, I have the 40th gate in the heart center. And I believe the third line from gate 40 is all about humility, how to be humble in what you're doing, how to bring yourself back to, that loyalty or that self-worth that you have. So yeah, that's where I feel like I'm going to go next, is that business side and learning how to help people. Cause I feel like I get questions a lot. They're like, how do I make money from my design?
Yes.
What am I supposed to do? What's my job? And I'm like, hold on. I know you guys feel like it's like, oh, accounting, this, that. There's like no one pathway that's really going to give you the answer. It's like you and I can collaborate and really put things through your authority. Like whatever I say, it doesn't mean that it's correct. I need you to run this through your authority to make sure that this is correct for you. And that's what I'm here as a guide to do. It's just to kind of give you these options, but ultimately it's up to you to run it through to make sure that it fits for you.
Exactly. Yes. And that's why I love your vibe. And I love that people are starting to do this more, where it's like I'm not the guru. I'm not claiming to be this expert. Like I personally have a ton of one-liners and I'm fear motivation. So I've come to realize I know a lot of things, but you have to know what's correct for you. Like, let's teach you how to run through your authority and how your energy works and all of that. And yeah, that's that money course. I've worked through that too. It's so fascinating. It made me feel better about being a 3-line too.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh, okay, there's a positivity here with the third line, because the third line is all about the material plane. So when you look at any gate, looking at the third line, it's about bringing and creating and adapting things on the material level. Because third lines are just here to find the truth. They're here to work through the Maya and to see what's truthful and what isn't working. So it makes a lot of sense when you think about it from that third line perspective.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things that I recognized with you, because I did one of the first interviews I did was, I don't know if you know Tangi, she's on TikTok, but she's a 1-3 splenic projector, and you're a 1-3 mental projector. 1-3s, you guys are fascinating. I feel like I need to hire a 1-3 to help me with my foundation and what I have going on, because I looked and I'm like looking at your website and I'm like, I love the layout. I love the flow. And I was the same thing about hers. And it's like the structure and the foundation and the security. I absolutely love it. One question I do have, I saw that you had a human design body graph that's on your page. Do you pay for a subscription to have that, or how did you get that? How did you do it?
Yeah. It's bodygraph.io. And yeah, so I paid for the subscription to have that on my site. But then you can customize it. They have all these ways you can customize with colors and background and even the shapes of the centers and the shapes of the arrows and like everything. You can customize it to really fit your vibe. And then I really liked them because it also gave the information for the variables. And I mean, I have mixed things. Like I think it can be a little too much when somebody's first looking at the design, but at the same time, like it's probably my one line. Like I want that information to be there for when they are ready to really unpack that aspect of it.
Yeah, cool. Because I was looking at that because that's something that I want, and then I saw that you had it, and that's literally yeah, something that I'm working on building. So I saw that and I wanted to ask you because it's just a great way to bring people in and to get them into a funnel and just, because there are so many people that go to pull their chart. And I'm like, this is a great way just to grab thousands of emails, especially through TikTok. So I thought that was a really brilliant way in order for you to gather that email list for yourself.
Yes. Well, it was a whole 3-line experience because I had some video. It was again one of the random ones where I was like sitting in my closet talking about being a values person, and it blew up. And people are like, "How do I find this out? How do I?" And then other people are commenting, being helpful, right? Like, "Oh, go to this site or go to that site." And I was like, "Wait, wait! Like, I think it's time to invest because this would be like, hundreds of people." I'm like, "No, go to my site. I'll help you." So yeah, I'm sure everybody figured out the correct place to go for them, but that was the ticket for me where I was like, okay, no, we're doing this now.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop on that train because I just don't see
Yeah.
I don't see why not. And I think like you can even
Yeah.
start like having your own app too. Like I was doing research and I think you can not only have your own little body graph on your website, I think you can transfer it into an app too.
Holy moly. The
AI,
time we
man.
live in right now is so fascinating.
It really is. It really is. Technology just blows my mind. It really does.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. um Did you have any questions for myself today?
Okay, so here's the thing. Anytime somebody says that, it's like I've never had a question in my life. Any other time, I'm like, yes, I have 1,000 questions. But if you pull it out, then it's so weird. But okay, I am curious about the 3-5, okay, because I had a reading with someone recently, and of course the original languaging, like the martyr heretic. I had this client, she's fairly new. She's like, that just sounds terrible. I don't want to do it. I was like, let's try to unpack this though. But I get it, because the 3-line is rough, the 5-line has all the projections. And like, I would love to hear from your perspective about the beauty of the 3-5 and especially for anybody else who's like brand new into this. And yeah.
Beauty. Normally it's like straight to the not beauty. So give me a second to the beauty of it. I mean, I think the beauty of it is, well, once you get through it, because like what is challenging is like when you don't fulfill a projection, because it's your body that's being projected on, right? And so you have to project yourself outwards to really live up to these images. And like I feel like I've been living up to all these images my entire life, whether they're my images or someone else's images. Like it's just I'm trying to live up to this projection of an image. And so what's really interesting is that when you fail that image, right, when you don't give them what they're looking for, this is where the adapting for the 3rd line really comes in. It's like, okay, well, we're going to adapt and shift and we're just going to move on. So it's like, I don't carry it as deep or as long as, let's say, somebody who's a 2-5 or a 5-2. Like that 2nd line when they don't live up to a projection, it really carries in their frequency, and then they hermit and they go back and they really shy away. So I think the beautiful thing is that there's this real ambition and this drive when you can get past that you have failed, because it truly is going to happen. You're going to, not live up to these projections, or you're going to impulsively make a decision and get into a relationship that doesn't align with you. It's all part of the experimentation process. But I think the beautiful thing is that just knowing that it's your truth. And that's the martyr part of it, right? Like, you have your truth, you're going to stand by your truth. But I think, as a third line is, I have to truly, like, you can tell me your experience, and that's great. That's dandy. I'm glad you had it. But unless I go through that experience, it's like, I really can't understand the depth and the value that comes from it. So for me, being this third line, like, yes, there's trial and error, but I'm willing to try anything. Like, what is it? Let's do it. Let's give it a try. So there's this, there's a lot of spark that can come from that, and a lot of fire that can truly ignite. It's just whether or not it's the right fire for you, or rather it's something that really is gonna be successful. And that's why it's really important to follow your strategy and your authority, which is something that prior to human design, I wasn't following my strategy and my authority. I was like, sure, this projection, sure. Let's just project, let's just live up to everyone's standards that they have set for me. And so, the beautiful thing as well is putting up boundaries and knowing that, like, I'm really good with strangers, like phenomenal with strangers. And that's something where, like, I need to be very comfortable with knowing that, like, I'm not going to have an influence on my network. I'm not going to have an influence on my close group of people unless shit hits the fan. When things hit the fan, then they're like, hey, we need help. Hey, what's this? So it's really, the beautiful thing is, it is the trial and error process, but it's more about just owning that, like, this is part of the process. This is the way that you're going to grow. It's like, if I'm not experimenting and if I'm not testing, I'm truly not growing, because I'm not allowing myself to experiment, because I'm scared of failing. I'm scared of having to adapt. So it's really just allowing myself to be open to making mistakes. But man, mentally, it's a hard thing to kind of wrap your head around, because it's part of the personality. It's not my body. It's the way that my mind operates. And so there is this huge stigma to where I don't believe I'm enough, or I don't believe that I'm worthy, or I don't believe that, like, that I should do this, when in reality, I'm meant to experiment and I'm meant to make mistakes. And so it is about having that grace, which I feel like it's the beautiful thing, but also, like, the most challenging thing as well.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I totally relate to that. And one more I'm curious about, because sometimes I get in my martyr zone, because I have that 3 line subconscious and an open body, and then the projector aura that just penetrates and absorbs, right? So how do you feel? Like, I feel like it's a hard combination to have the penetrating aura that just wants to absorb the people so that we can guide, but then also a 3 line that's kind of bumping around. Have you experienced any overwhelm with that? I mean, you're conscious and you're not a mental projector, so there's like a different vibe. So I'm just curious if you've related to that at all, or if it just comes across really different to you.
When you say challenge, and you mean from, like, when you mean, I guess I'm trying to make the connection of, like, the third line and the penetrating aura. Do you mean like when I'm working with other people?
Yes. Okay. So yeah, this is helping me differentiate. So I think for me, it's against a subconscious, and I have the open body. It's almost like if I mess up, I'm like falling on my face in front of a group of people, and then I can feel everything that they are thinking or feeling about me, right? Like, and if I mess up, then it's like undefined solar plexus is freaking out, and like all the openness is freaking out, right? And so I've had to learn to tamper that a bit. Um, but it's, again, that 3 line, like, I have to go do those things in order to learn and to grow. Like, I can't understand it unless I do it. But with you having it on the conscious side, it feels a little different. I don't know. I just felt like I needed to unpack something for a second, but I don't know if it's making any sense.
It does make sense, because now I'm understanding what you're saying, because you're saying like what it feels like because you absorb people's auras. So like when you're failing in front of people, how does that, impact you as a projector? And so for me, I've because it's my fifth line is my body. Like I feel like when I am messing up, right, because of the aura and the way you can absorb it, it's like I intuitively know like, shit, fuck, I've messed up. Damn it. Like I'm dropping the ball. I'm losing my reputation. They're gonna hate me.
Mm-hmm.
This is failing horribly. And you know it. And as a projector, you can feel it. And it's like that instant bitterness. And you're just like, shit, right? And then that's where my mind, where
Mm-hmm.
you have a one-line mind. So I feel like your mind is like investigating and trying to figure out, okay, well, how can we create this more stable? Whereas my mind's like, okay, we fucked up, cut the cord, we're moving on, let's shift, let's get out of here, like let's run for our life, because you've got to adapt. And so sometimes adapting, right, bonds made broken, is just like, let's just cut this off and let's just go start something new, which I always thought was a bad thing. I've changed so much, and I've gone in this direction and that direction, and truly have gone all over the place. But yeah, with my Open G Center, like, and knowing that, it's been able to have a lot of grace with myself, and like, you don't need to stay the same. You're allowed to change and to adapt.
Yes, yes. But I feel that too. Well, like even with my username, like I filled out your thing and I had a username, and then like 2 days later, I was like, I gotta change it. Like things are happening. 3-line Open G, like it's just time. And yeah, it's just even simple things like that. So thank you for going down that thought experiment with me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Rebeka, you mentioned your offers that you have, but I also think you have like a HD one-on-one course coming up in the summer. Do you want to share that with people?
Sure, yeah. Um, so that started from an invitation as well. This is one of the interesting things where back to back, a couple of clients after a session asked me if I taught human design. And after the second one, I was like, well, sure, now I do. Yes. Let me throw it together 3-line style. And so I put it together and I proposed it to her, and she's like, yeah, I'm on board. Let's do it. So I was like, okay, let's put it out there and see if anybody else wants to jump on board. So that's the weird like invitation slash being a lighthouse, telling people what's going on. But it's a 12-week course. It'll be kind of a mix of pre-recorded stuff plus one-on-one weekly times to teach and to have Q&As. And it's very much a 1-3 thing where you will 100% get the foundation of information, but then I also want to be able to communicate how to embody this for yourself. Like it's great if you know this stuff, but how do you embody it? So that's where there will likely be some energy stuff in there as well, to really get in touch with your openness and your definition and different things. So the idea is for you to be able to read charts. It's getting into the types, the authorities, the strategies, the energetics of the centers. We don't go deep into the gates or channels just yet. It's really about getting into the energy of the body graph so that you can read body graph chart for yourself, for your family, or if you have a business that you want to be able to integrate some of this into your business, then you'll be able to do that with this. It starts the beginning of June, and yeah, I'm excited about it.
That sounds exciting. And you also like just a little exchange also just made me feel a little better, because I'm doing all these interviews, right? And all of you are really excelling and showing up. I've been interviewing a lot of projectors, and so really putting yourself in positions to be seen. But people, they're doing webinars and they're doing this. And I just feel like I haven't done any of those things yet. Now, what you just said was, you've been invited in, like people asked you like, hey, are you doing this? And I feel like with me, I've been invited in the past for more YouTube style, but I haven't really figured out what it is or the direction in my Open G Center. I feel like I'm just waiting for some invitation or for something to be like, okay, this is the direction that I'm going. So I feel like for me in my business, it's always kind of like just waiting for that next direction or waiting for that invitation on like which direction I'm going to go in. And so hearing you say that just brought a little more clarity. And like, I haven't really received an invitation that's felt right for me where I've jumped the gun. Yeah, so that made me feel a little easier. So yeah, your sharing just brought some clarity
Oh,
for me.
good. Good. I'm so glad because it is a weird thing. And like I'm hearing your feedback helps me too because I'm over here by myself. Like, I don't know, these people asked me to do it. So hopefully it actually happens. I don't know. So yeah, I just gotta keep talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Rebeka, I think that it's all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining on here. It really truly brought a lot of clarity. Just in the way that mental projectors are meant to show up. I feel like I have a deeper understanding to be able to share that authority when I come across it in a more deeper and more compassionate way. Because before I was just like, yeah, you're soundboarding, you're bouncing it off, but I really didn't understand the depth of it. So hearing your explanation brought a lot of light to that. So I want to thank you for coming on here and really just sharing your experience.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation. I'm always happy to talk about this, help all the mental projectors, because there is even nuance within that I didn't even think to talk about. So just keep experimenting with it. For any mental projectors out there, just keep experimenting and observe how it feels in your body whenever you're soundboarding. That's the best thing I can say. It's really listening to your own body while you're soundboarding.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebeka. You've been such a treat. I will be in touch to let you know when the episode's going to be released.